My name is Emily Carter, and until a few months ago, I truly believed I understood everything about living in a quiet suburban neighborhood. You mow the lawn, you wave to the mailman, you nod politely at dog walkers passing by, and every few months you might participate in a community barbecue if you're feeling especially social. Everything stays polite, predictable, and comfortably distant. That is, until one unexpected moment shifts everything and teaches you more about people and yourself than you ever planned on learning. I've lived on Maple Ridge Lane for 7 years, long enough to know who plays loud music past 8 p.m. and who bakes cookies every other Sunday. My house sits between a retired couple who love gardening and, on the other side, the newest resident of our street, a man named Daniel Brooks. He moved in about 6 months before everything happened, and during all that time, our interactions were brief, friendly, and always the same: a wave, a hello, and a quick, "nice weather today" comment. I didn't know much about him other than that he worked from home as a graphic designer and owned the world's friendliest golden retriever. On the day everything happened, I woke up earlier than usual. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, and the house had that peaceful stillness that only comes before the rest of the world wakes up. I stretched, made coffee, and walked to my living room window, where I could usually see the Brooks house across our shared side yard. The morning light was just beginning to touch the rooftop, and for a moment I stood there, appreciating the quiet. I had planned to reorganize my hallway closet, something I'd been putting off for months, and since it was a Saturday, I figured I had no excuse. After breakfast, I grabbed a stack of cardboard boxes and began pulling things off shelves: winter coats, old magazines, candles I forgot I owned, and a random assortment of household odds and ends. The project quickly turned chaotic, but I told myself I wouldn't stop until I finished. Hours passed. The living room looked as if a tornado had recently visited, and I was covered in dust. My phone buzzed around noon, a grocery delivery notification. I rushed to the door, grabbed the bags, and brought everything inside. As I began putting things away, I realized one small problem: I couldn't find my house keys. I remembered placing them somewhere, very obvious, earlier that morning so I wouldn't lose them during the closet project, but now, of course, I couldn't remember where the obvious place was. I checked every surface, every stack of boxes, every possible pocket. Nothing. A little frustrated, I opened the front door to check my porch in case I'd dropped them outside. The cool afternoon air hit my face as I stepped out. I scanned the wooden boards, the welcome mat, the small table beside the door, and that's when I heard footsteps approaching from the side yard. "Hey, Emily," a voice called. It was Daniel. His golden retriever, Maple, trotted happily beside him, tail swishing like a metronome. He gave me his usual neighborly smile, and I waved back, slightly embarrassed by my frantic key search. "Hey, Daniel," I replied. "You haven't seen any keys lying around your side of the yard, have you?" "I may have misplaced them." He chuckled softly. "Maple would have found them if they were there. She's good at that. Want me to help you look?" I was about to answer when a gust of wind blew the front door wide open behind me. The sudden noise startled both of us. Maple barked once, and I instinctively turned around. Here's where the accidental moment happened. While I was putting groceries away earlier, I had set a laundry basket, full of folded clothes, right in front of the entryway. When the wind blew the door open, the basket tipped over, sending the clothes spilling across the hallway floor. And I, in the middle of stepping backward, tripped over one of the fallen shirts, stumbling awkwardly into the doorframe. Daniel, seeing me lose balance, rushed forward instinctively to steady me. But because everything happened so fast, the scene looked more dramatic than it really was. I landed on one knee with a thud, one hand gripping the doorframe, the other grabbing whatever was closest to regain balance. Unfortunately, that happened to be Daniel's forearm. His eyes widened, mine widened, Maple barked again, and for a moment it seemed like something straight out of a sitcom. A neighbor appearing at the worst possible moment, catching you mid-fall, both of you stunned in a doorway framed by windblown clothing. But it was just an accident. A clumsy, awkward, completely harmless accident. "You okay?" Daniel asked quickly. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Yeah, sorry about that. The universe apparently hates me today." He laughed gently. "No harm done. Looked worse than it was." Still embarrassed, I stood up and began gathering the clothes from the floor. "Need help?" he asked. I hesitated. "Only if you don't mind." He didn't mind. Together, we collected everything and placed it back in the laundry basket. Maple sat at the doorway as if supervising us with great seriousness. Once the hallway was clear again, I sighed. Thanks. I swear I'm usually more coordinated. He grinned. Everyone has days like this. I found myself smiling despite the embarrassment. Then, unexpectedly, he said, "Actually, I came by to ask if you'd be interested in joining the neighborhood cleanup project next weekend. A few of us are organizing it." I blinked. Really? I had no idea. That's because I've been terrible at telling people, he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. I'm trying to get better at this whole community involvement thing. I leaned against the wall. Well, you just recruited one more person. He looked pleasantly surprised. Really? Sure, I said, if I don't accidentally trip over myself again before then. He laughed. If you do, I'll make sure I'm not holding anything breakable. The conversation relaxed after that. We talked for a few minutes about the cleanup plans, the best times to gather volunteers, and what needed to be done. I couldn't help noticing how easy he was to talk to, something I hadn't realized before because our interactions had always been quick and polite. Eventually, Daniel glanced at Maple, who was growing impatient to continue her walk. I should go before she drags me across the street, he joked. I thanked him again, and he waved before heading down the porch steps. But as I watched him walk away, I realized something surprising. For the first time since he'd moved in, I felt like I actually knew my neighbor, not just his name, but who he was as a person. Thoughtful, calm, helpful, and unexpectedly funny. That accidental moment, as embarrassing as it was, had opened a door that otherwise might have stayed closed. Over the next week, we interacted more than we had in the previous 6 months combined. He stopped by to drop off flyers for the cleanup event. I returned a package that had been mistakenly delivered to my house. We chatted briefly on our porches, exchanged a few jokes about the infamous hallway incident, and slowly began forming an easy, friendly connection. By the time the community cleanup day arrived, I felt genuinely excited to be part of it. The morning was warm and bright when I arrived at the community garden, the main gathering spot. Daniel was already there setting up a table with bottled water, gloves, and trash bags. Maple sat proudly beside him, wearing a tiny bandana that said, "Official Helper." "Glad you made it," he called out when he spotted me. "I wouldn't miss it," I replied. The event turned out to be more fun than I expected. Dozens of neighbors showed up, people I'd seen around for years but never spoken to. We trimmed overgrown hedges, pulled weeds, picked up litter along the sidewalks, and even repainted an old park bench that had been fading for years. At one point while gathering branches, Daniel walked over with a fresh pair of gloves. "Thought you might need new ones," he said. "Thanks. Are these the deluxe edition?" I joked. "The most premium gloves the neighborhood budget can buy." We shared a laugh. It was simple, warm, and refreshingly human. After hours of work, everyone gathered at the community garden for a small celebration. There were tables with snacks, pitchers of lemonade, and a long list of people who deserved thanks. Kids ran around blowing bubbles, seniors lounged in folding chairs chatting happily, and Maple mingled like the celebrity she believed she was. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, Daniel and I found ourselves sitting at the edge of the garden, sipping lemonade and watching the event unfold. "You know," I said quietly, "this whole thing turned out better than I expected." He nodded. "Same here. I wasn't sure anyone would show up." "Why not? You put so much work into organizing it." He shrugged. "I guess I worried I wouldn't do it right. I'm still getting used to being part of a new community." I looked at him with genuine understanding. "You're doing great. Really great." There was a brief silence, comfortable and peaceful. Then he chuckled. "I have to admit something. When I saw you trip in the doorway last week, I thought you were going to banish me from the neighborhood forever." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my lemonade. "Trust me, that moment was embarrassing for me, not you." "You sure?" he teased. "Positive. Though I hope it didn't make you think I'm always that dramatic." He smirked. "Not always. But the evidence is still under review." I nudged him playfully. "Oh, please." The sun began setting, painting the sky in soft orange hues. Kids started gathering their toys, neighbors packed up tables and supplies, and the peaceful hum of a community coming together settled into the air like a warm blanket. When it was finally time to head home, Daniel walked me back to my porch. Maple trotted ahead of us, sniffing every corner with excitement. "Thanks for being part of this," he said quietly as we reached my steps. "Thanks for inviting me," I replied. "I had a great time." "We should do this again sometime," he suggested. "Maybe a smaller version, like planting flowers or fixing that broken bench near the bus stop." "I'd like that," I said, surprised by how much I meant it. He gave a small nod. Good, I'll let you know. We exchanged a final smile before he headed home. As I stepped inside my house, I paused, looking back out the window. Daniel was on his porch, unlocking his door while Maple circled happily at his feet. Who knew that a simple accident, an awkward, unplanned, slightly ridiculous moment, could lead to something so unexpectedly meaningful? From that day on, we weren't just neighbors. We became friends. The kind who help each other with groceries, share leftover cookies, and talk on the porch during warm evenings. The kind who laugh about clumsy accidents instead of pretending they never happened. And sometimes, in life, that's all it takes. One unplanned moment, one open door, one new beginning, a perfectly ordinary accident that turned into something extraordinary.